What is going on, everybody? We are back with another Sant Rant video. Today I want to talk about probably the biggest thing in Game of Thrones news right now, and that is the quote-unquote Season 8 script leaks. Now, personally, I believe these leaks to be fake, and I want to tell you why that is. So this will be a two-part video with the second part dropping tomorrow, but yeah, let's just go right into it. I want to say before we do, I will not be reading the entire script because they are rather long, so for time's sake I will just pull out the most important and the most significant things about the scripts that show they are fake. And also one last thing to keep in mind when judging these scripts for yourself, last year when the Season 7 plots were leaked, it was like 2 to 3 sentences per episode, not the entire script. And also last year HBO did everything in their power to try and pull down those leaks, but these have been out since August 4th and HBO has done absolutely nothing. Season 8 hasn't even begun filming yet, so the likelihood of getting leaks this early is very small, especially leaks of this magnitude. Alright, let's jump right into it. So the first scene in the first script opens up with the aftermath of the Night King's attack on Eastwatch by the sea. Tormund and Gendry are able to flee the scene, and undead Viserion sets crows and undead afire. Lord Beric Dondarrion stays behind to fight the White Walkers and dies off screen, but not before killing the White Walker that killed Ed. Ed is stabbed to death by a White Walker. Tormund and Gendry ride for Winterfell, whilst we see a burning Castle Black in the background. So right off the bat, this doesn't even sound structurally right. It says we see what happens at Eastwatch by the sea, but then somehow cuts to Castle Black, and then Beric is able to kill a White Walker. I mean, if that is true, there has to be some explaining that has to be done first, because last I checked, Beric's sword isn't made out of Valyrian steel, nor does he have dragonglass weapons. I mean, he could have a few daggers like Jorah did, but either way, this still doesn't really make sense. And then it says Beric dies off screen. I mean, if they're willing to show us Thoros of Myr die on screen, you'd think they would be able to show us Beric as well. In the second scene, we see Sansa make a remark to Jon that working with Cersei isn't really a good idea, but if you keep reading the scripts, you will note that Cersei never accepted working together with Jon. So Sansa saying that working with Cersei is bad, but they never actually ended up working together, also doesn't really make sense. If we jump all the way to the 7th scene in the episode, we see Jaime Lannister at an inn where he meets up with Bronn. Jaime's surprised to see Bronn and asks him why he followed him. And Bronn answers that there's nothing left for him in that stinking city, aka King's Landing, and he's up for some adventure in the north. But I mean, if Jaime leaves King's Landing without Bronn and doesn't tell anyone where he's going, how would Bronn know that he's going to the north? That is about it, script-wise, for this script. Honestly, one reason people could believe this is because it tells us things we already know for sure is going to happen. At some point in the script, it says that Bran tells Jon about his true parentage, but we all know Bran is planning on telling this to Jon.
Jon were here.
Yes. I need to speak to him.
So it's very easy to believe that this could be real because we know that it's going to happen. Moving on to the second script, in the 5th scene, Arya receives a visitor in Winterfell. He seems to be an ordinary bannerman from House Cerwyn, but he quickly removes his face. It seems to be Jaqen H'ghar, and Arya is very surprised to have Jaqen visiting her. Jaqen tells Arya the many-faced god requires another death, a name to be crossed off her list, which he reveals to be the Queen of the Seven Kingdoms, none other than Cersei Lannister. A price was paid. What better servant of the many-faced god than Arya Stark to kill Cersei Lannister? As much as I would love to see Jaqen H'ghar come back, I don't think he will. His storyline pretty much ended when Arya left the House of Black and White, so bringing him back and then going away for the rest of the season kinda makes no sense. As well as the whole idea of being a faceless man is giving up your identity, and Arya's list was part of giving up that identity. So then Jaqen comes back and tells her to pretty much keep going with the list. And to top all of that off, Arya left the House of Black and White because she didn't want to go through with becoming a faceless man. So why would she take orders from Jaqen, especially when she knows the White Walkers are coming? Moving on to scene 6, Jon Snow seizes the moment to talk with Howland Reed alone. He asks Howland to confirm Bran's story, but Howland doesn't acknowledge this at all. Jon pleads him to tell the truth, since Robert Baratheon isn't alive any longer, there's really no point in lying anymore. Howland ultimately confirms that Ned was carrying Lyanna's child when he came out of the Tower of Joy. He always promised to keep this a secret. Jon thanks him for telling the truth anyway. Just a little background, Howland Reed is the father of Meera and Jojen Reed. He is also that guy that stabbed Sir Arthur Dayne in the back of the throat, in the Tower of Joy scene. So if Jon confronted Howland about this, with like knowing exactly how everything went down, I don't think Howland would have lied about it any longer. And then Jon says that the King Robert is dead, and there really is no reason to lie anymore. But Robert has been dead for quite some time now, kind of like 7 seasons. So is this Howland Reed just learning of his death? I mean, you would think that as soon as Robert's dead and there's no threat anymore, he would just go and tell Jon. So, come on. Pretty much the rest of this episode just turns into a madhouse, in the way of how many people die. Alright, so let's get a count going. We got Ghost, Lord Glover, Howland Reed, Tormund Giantsbane, Grey Worm, Podrick, Meera, Bran, and Rhaegal. That is too many main characters to die in one episode and still have it be a good script. I get that it has to be moving at a fast rate because at that point there would only be like 3-4 episodes left, but 9 characters, I mean, come on. Also, the way some of them die don't really make sense. Like in that episode's script, it says Bran is stabbed to death by a group of White Walkers, but then later in the final script, episode 6, it says that Bran is stabbed to death by the Night King with Dragonglass. But during Bran's death scene, Bran is warging in Rhaegal, who is fighting the Night King on Viserion. So this, to me, is one of the biggest indicators that this script is fake. Going into scene 1 in the 3rd script, we see the remaining people discussing their battle/defense plan. Jon tells Theon that he has to take back Pike and defend it together with the remaining army of the North and the Ironborn. But I mean, why would taking back Pike really matter at this point? If Jon wanted to take back Pike, why would he send that many people? Euron's forces wouldn't be there because they would be with him in King's Landing, so it shouldn't require the Ironborn and the Northern Army. Oh, and apparently Lyanna Mormont dies off screen, which in my opinion would be terrible because I want to see her go out in a very badass type of way. Jumping into the 4th scene, during the night the characters are at Greywater Watch sleeping in huts. Jon chats a long time with Howland Reed, asking if he joins them to the south. Since the White Walkers would probably hit Greywater Watch soon, Howland Reed tells him that he's ready to die. But let's pause real quick. Didn't Howland Reed just die in the episode before? I mean, this was a huge indicator to me that whoever made this script didn't even remember the story as they were making it up. And later in the scene, we see Euron insisting on marrying Cersei, but Cersei said in Season 7 that they can do that after the war is won, and at this point the war is barely just begun. Starting off in the 5th scene, it's still night in Greywater Watch, and the characters stay there until morning. Jon and Daenerys sleep together in a hut. Daenerys finally tells Jon that she's pregnant with his child. Jon is surprised and expresses happiness towards Daenerys. He jokes that this is the only good thing that has happened to them at the moment. He also wonders about their child's health since they are family. Daenerys comforts Jon. The Targaryens have been inbreeding for years and she's perfectly healthy. Alright, let's pause for a second. I mean, Daenerys is a Targaryen, but she wasn't raised with a mentality of inbreeding, nor was she forced to inbreed. So, she doesn't really have that past experience. Why would she be completely okay with it? Also, nowhere in the script before this does Jon tell Daenerys that he is a Targaryen, so she just automatically knows. And also, Jon goes on to say that he would like to name his son Ned. I mean, come on, man, this is straight from the Red Wedding when Robb was going to name his son Eddard.
Seems to me the father should have some say in his son's naming.
Eddard.
In scene 6, we see Melisandre confront Arya and the Hound, but she's in her old lady form, so they don't know it's her. A little later in the scene, Arya and the Hound are attacked by a group of whites, but if you look geographically, they are headed south and Melisandre was headed north, and she was never attacked. The next scene is Cersei and Euron's wedding, but Cersei apparently looks super sad, so why would she have ever agreed to this if she would be, kind of miserable? Also, it mentions Jaime and Brienne having sex. I do really hope this turns out to be true, because that would be great fan service, and lately they've been doing a lot of fan service for us. Well, that's it for today, guys. Please leave your thoughts down in the comment section, whether you agree with me or not, whether you think they are real, what you would like to see come true, what you wouldn't like to see come true. I mean, you gotta keep some speculation open because some of this stuff might be real, some of this stuff might be dead on, and some of this stuff might be ideas that the writers threw out. I believe a good 95% of these scripts are complete fake and just a huge fan theory. It could turn out to be a good fan theory, but I mean, I don't really see it panning out in the long run on screen. Also, remember to come back tomorrow as I will be coming out with my part 2 video, which will cover script 4, 5, and 6, and I will basically do the same thing I did today, but with those scripts. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, and if you really enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks for stopping by and watching. Alright guys, peace.